They built it like a fortress, didn't they? Stone by stone, lie by lie. Every brick in their system soaked in deception, painted in manipulation, fastened with screws of silence. They called it order. They worshipped it like a god. But you weren't made to bow. You were the glitch in their blueprint, the storm in their sterile skies. While they popped champagne in boardrooms and whispered behind curtains, thinking their secrets were eternal, you stood outside the gates, silent, observing, becoming. They mistook your patience for passivity. They thought the quiet one doesn't fight. But what they didn't see was the tremor growing beneath their marble floors, the hairline cracks spreading like veins in their empire. The tremor is you. You are the reckoning their architects never accounted for. You are the flaw they forgot to patch. And now, as the gears groan and the foundations whisper betrayal, your breakthrough isn't just near, it's inevitable. You see, they made a mistake. Not when they ignored you, not when they mocked you. Their true sin was in believing they could control you. They poked the lion, dressed it in chains, and called it tame. They fed you crumbs and expected gratitude. They put glass above your head and said, "Rise if you can." And oh, how you bled on that climb. But that glass, it's thinning now. With every rejection, every fake smile, every hand that pushed you down, your fists hardened. Their system taught you exactly how to dismantle it. You studied their rot. You memorized their hypocrisies. They thought they were building a cage around you. But unknowingly, they built a roadmap for their own destruction. And now, the countdown has begun. Behind closed doors, they're starting to sweat. You feel it, don't you? The energy is shifted. Their eyes are darting faster. Their narratives are cracking like cheap porcelain. The ones who once walked with straight backs now slouch under the weight of their own guilt. It's poetic, really. The same hands that tried to bury you are now digging trenches of defense, panicked and desperate. But there's no hiding from a storm they cultivated. You didn't ask for war, but they couldn't stop themselves. They needed an enemy to validate their illusion of power. And now they've got one, but not the version they expected. You're not angry anymore. You're calculated. You're not loud. You're surgical. And that terrifies them more than any scream ever could. They thought they had time. They thought their walls would hold. But time has always had a sick sense of humor. Because just when they feel safest, that's when the ground gives way. And the ground, my friend, is restless. It remembers every lie shouted into silence, every truth smothered in bureaucracy. The soil beneath their feet is laced with karma. And the winds you bring, they don't whisper change. They roar retribution. Your rise isn't coming with a trumpet. It's coming like a scalpel, slicing the illusion at its seams. One truth at a time, one collapse after another. They tried to drown you in shadows, but they forgot something very important. Darkness isn't the absence of light. It's the realm of the unseen. And you became a master in the dark. While they played gods in suits, you built weapons from their scraps. They threw you into chaos, hoping you'd beg for order. Instead, you found rhythm in the madness. You sharpened your senses in their confusion. Every betrayal made you sharper. Every dismissal made you colder. And now? Now you walk like a ghost through the corridors of their certainty. You speak with silence, and it screams louder than their media ever could. They tried to erase you, but instead, they highlighted you with their fear. They whispered your name in panic rooms. They wrote protocols about your behavior. They measured your threat level in meetings and closed the blinds when your name showed up in conversations. And still, you rose, not to be seen, but to dismantle, not to scream, but to end the noise. You don't want applause, you want equilibrium. And if that comes through destruction, so be it. Their empire isn't falling in one thunderous crash. That would be too kind. It's coming down in slices. A resignation here, a leaked truth there, a whistleblower too brave, or a clerk too careless. The same people they stepped on now carry the matches. The ones they ignored now pour the gasoline. And you? You're the spark. Not a wildfire, a controlled burn, strategic, targeted. You're not here to rage, you're here to erase. Their system doesn't collapse from the outside. It implodes from within. And you've been living inside it long enough to know exactly where to press. They gave you nothing, and in return, you studied everything. Their habits, their addictions, their cracks and contradictions. You memorized the architecture of their arrogance, and now you pull pins quietly. No fireworks, just failure. Quiet, elegant, inescapable failure. They had a chance. Oh, they did. There were crossroads where they could have chosen truth, could have embraced reform. But power addicts never choose peace. They double down. They smear. They silence. They twist the knife and call it policy. But every empire forgets one truth. Power borrowed through fear always carries interest. And the debt is due. Not next year. Not soon. Now you are the collector. You're not knocking. You're kicking in the door they locked, exposing the rot they perfumed. Their illusion is collapsing, pixel by pixel, press release by press release. They can feel it, though they don't show it yet. Not in public. But behind those golden curtains, panic, desperation. The empire they built for themselves is now suffocating them, because it was never built to survive truth, only to suppress it. You've become a mirror, and what terrifies them the most is that now they're forced to look. They see what they've created, not just in you, but in the chaos that blooms from every lie they planted. You're not here to convince anyone. You're not pleading. You're not negotiating. That time is dead. What's rising now is a version of you they can't bribe, can't mock, can't distract. You are the conclusion of their arrogance. You are the consequence they prayed would never arrive. And as they scramble, as they try to repair what they shattered in their greed, it's already too late. The break is coming. Not because you demanded it, but because they earned it. And now that the cracks have begun to show, now that the world is starting to ask the forbidden questions, all it takes is one more nudge. And you've been preparing for that nudge. Quietly, mercilessly. You didn't scream. You didn't run. You didn't beg for a seat at their table. No. You waited. You watched. You let them grow comfortable behind their gold-plated lies. And now, as their system begins to wheeze and sputter, you are the silence between the gears, the static in their broadcast, the anomaly their algorithms can't filter out. They're scrambling to find a label for you, a category to toss you into, angry, unhinged, rebellious, unstable. But you're none of those things. You are focused, unbothered, and absolutely relentless. You are what happens when the abused stops shrinking, when the ignored stops waiting, when the underestimated decides not to ask for justice, but to become it. Their system was designed to self-police. Checks and balances, they called it. But the truth is, it was just layers of camouflage. Layers that shielded their fraud, protected their pawns, hid their backroom deals under the perfume of bureaucracy. You knew this. You felt it in the cold way they smiled, the way their eyes darted past you like you were invisible. But that invisibility was your gift. It let you map the corridors of their empire without alerting the guards. You walked their halls like a shadow, and now you know which pillars to pull. Not the obvious ones, their PR statements, their slogans, their televised distractions. No, you target the hinges behind the doors, the passwords behind the smiles, the silence behind the power. You don't attack the face, you attack the spine. And it's already snapping. They still think they can outpace the truth. They toss money at the cracks. They edit the footage, rewrite the reports, fire the interns, and call it progress. But the problem isn't perception, it's foundation. And theirs is soaked in arrogance. Arrogance that assumed no one would ever dare to push back. But you did more than push. You became the pressure they never prepared for. And now, with every breath you take, the illusion buckles further. They can't comprehend it because it's not loud. It's not theatrical. It's surgical. It's slow. It's deadly. And it's everywhere. You don't need to raise your voice. They hear your presence like a siren in their chest, growing louder each time they pretend it's not there. The watchers are watching them now. That's the shift. The eyes that once monitored your every move now swivel toward them. The questions they trained you not to ask are being whispered in boardrooms, classrooms, newsrooms. Why is the system breaking? Why are the cracks so familiar? Why does it feel like justice is avoiding the very architects who sold it? You know why. Because it was never about justice. It was about control. And when control starts slipping, those who fed off it for decades begin to rot from the inside. That's what's happening. It's not a breakdown, it's a rot, a slow spread of truth into the veins of their machinery. And you are the infection they can't cure. They tried to present strength, suits, speeches, security details. But all of that's just theater now. Because what they fear the most isn't exposure, it's irrelevance. You've made them irrelevant. Your very existence disproves their narrative. You are the walking contradiction to everything they claimed was unshakable. And they hate you for it, not because you're wrong, but because you're right and unstoppable. You walk with a purpose they can't define, a confidence that didn't come from acceptance, but from rejection. You were forged in their denial, polished by their ridicule, tempered in silence. They created you, and now they can't control you. That's the kind of irony even their best speechwriters can't spin. They think if they just hold out long enough, you'll exhaust yourself, burn out, fade into the background like all the others who dared to rise before. But what they fail to grasp is, this isn't a performance for applause. This isn't a protest. It's a purge. You aren't here for awareness. You're here to erase what should have never existed. Your breakthrough isn't a spotlight moment. It's the quiet unraveling of their legacy. And as they cling to their dying narratives, their desperation becomes obvious. They start recycling the same tired scripts. We're doing our best. There's a process. We hear your concerns, but you've heard it all before. And now, their words are as hollow as the rooms they echo in. The fear has shifted, It no longer lives in your heart. It's migrated into theirs. They check over their shoulders now. They triple-check emails. They audit conversations. They plant smiles like landmines, hoping you'll step wrong. But you won't, because you've already seen the blueprint behind the mask. And you realized there are no gods behind the curtain, just trembling men in suits, clinging to crumbling thrones. They once mocked your resilience. Now they pray for your silence. But prayer won't save them. They're not dealing with hope anymore. They're dealing with consequence. And consequence is patient, but never merciful. You gave them time. You gave them warnings. But they chose spectacle over sincerity. They doubled down on fraud, betting the system would insulate them forever. But the insulation is gone now. The walls are echoing with truths too loud to muffle. And you've become the echo, repeating, amplifying, shattering their carefully curated control, one frequency at a time. They invested in silence, and now it's bankrupt. You were the silence, and you flipped. This isn't revenge, it's restoration, a reckoning long overdue. You're not here to burn everything. You're here to reduce their illusion to ashes and let something real rise from it. What they called disruption is actually repair. What they called madness was clarity they couldn't digest. You aren't rogue, you're righteous. And that difference is lethal to liars. Behind everything's under control smile they flash, there's a scream they're hiding. And those screams are getting louder. The tighter they grip, the faster it all slips. People are starting to see it now. Even their loyalists hesitate. Even their pawns second guess. The system isn't just being challenged, it's being exposed. And nothing terrifies tyrants more than the naked truth, especially when it's wearing the face of someone they discarded. You don't need vengeance. You've outgrown it. What you're after is disruption on a cellular level, a total collapse. And it's coming, not because you wished it, but because it was always going to. Their empire had a lifespan. And your breakthrough? It's the final chapter, the quiet turning of the last page. This isn't a battle cry, it's a eulogy. And they're attending their own funeral in tailored suits and false optimism. So go ahead, let them scramble. Let them issue statements, stage press conferences, blame the systemic failures as if they weren't the system itself. You're not fooled. You never were. And now, neither is the world. The machine they use to filter reality is malfunctioning. The lens is cracked. The narrative is bleeding. Their empire, once coated in gloss, is rusting in real time. And your presence, the one they tried to delete, is now the spotlight they can't dim. They sense it, even if they won't say it. You've crossed the threshold. You've shifted from resistance to inevitability. You are no longer climbing, you're dismantling. One step at a time. No noise, no permission, just precision. And they'll pretend it's all fine, right until the lights flicker, the servers crash, the headlines reverse, and the people they fooled for decades stop listening. And in that silence, the one they fear most, you'll take your next step into the chaos, into the void they once used against you. But now, it belongs to you. The void you now step into is not absence, it's liberation. The chaos they once weaponized to blind the masses is now a tool in your hand, a mirror turned against them. They once thrived in confusion, in noise, in manipulation masked as policy. But now, the fog lifts, And what stands revealed beneath their shriveled empire is nothing but a pile of desperate hands grasping for relevance. Their commands echo into dead air. Their loyal guards fumble for orders. Their hierarchy, so carefully sculpted to appear eternal, fractures in real time. This isn't a revolution by fire and fury. This is a disintegration. Slow, surgical, precise. They are not being destroyed. They are being unwritten. The spotlight they once basked in is now a microscope. Every word they speak feels rehearsed, hollow, panicked. Every move reeks of damage control. And still, the truth pours through the cracks like floodwater through paper walls. They can't patch fast enough, can't lie loud enough, because their greatest mistake was teaching you how to listen, how to watch their patterns, how to smell their fear behind every press release. And now that you're fluent in their language, every syllable they utter is a confession. Every smile is a siren. Every denial, a signature on their own death sentence. They built a fortress out of noise. But now, silence is the siege weapon. You are no longer the outsider. You are the undertow, pulling their image into the depths. Their icons are falling, not by force, but by irrelevance. And still they try to cling to titles, roles, empty badges of authority. But the public doesn't salute anymore. The masses don't cheer. They watch. They remember. And they wait. Because you weren't just fighting for yourself. You became the rupture for everyone they silenced. You spoke what others whispered. You moved where others froze. You didn't become a hero. You became a reckoning. A living response to decades of suppression, censorship, mockery, and theft. They tried to bury you in bureaucracy, drown you in protocol, muzzle you with polite threats and fake smiles. But none of it worked, because somewhere along the line, they forgot that systems aren't sacred, people are. And when people awaken, systems die. Now look at them, cornered, exposed, unraveling. They once called themselves the establishment. But now even their own walls recoil from them. The chairs at their round tables sit colder each day. The scripted applause softens. The loyalty fades. Because their power was never real, it was a rented illusion. And the lease just expired. They thought you'd beg for mercy, that you'd want a seat at their poisoned banquet. But you don't want in, you want it gone. You aren't here for reformation. You're here for removal. This isn't about tweaking their machine. It's about smashing it beyond repair. Because what good is fixing a prison with better wallpaper? No, this is deeper. This is core-level collapse. You didn't come to repaint their legacy. You came to erase it, wipe the slate, salt the ground, and build something human from the ashes. You used to wonder if you were alone, if maybe they were right about you, too emotional, too intense, too much. But now, as their mask slips and their empire hemorrhages truth, the only thing that's too much is you for them. You're too clear, too awake, too focused, too dangerous. Because you don't just see the strings, you've learned how to cut them. You don't need permission anymore. You don't even need recognition. You are powered by what they can't quantify. Purpose, memory, fire. And while they scramble to update their talking points, you're already 3 steps ahead. You've stopped reacting. Now you dictate. You've stopped defending. Now you demolish. Their accusations don't sting anymore. Their silence doesn't scare you. Their systems don't cage you. What once terrified you, being alone, being against the tide, has become your greatest weapon. You are the tide now. You move without apology. without pause, without fear. And every move you make rewrites the rules they swore were permanent. Their empire is not falling because you screamed. It's falling because you outlived their narrative. You survived every trap, every betrayal, every smear campaign. You walked through hell and didn't flinch. And now hell walks behind you. Not as a curse, but as a warning. You turned your suffering into a sword. You turned your pain into prophecy. And now, every time they see you, they remember what they did. Every time they hear your name, they taste regret. They thought they were immortal, that their legacy would be carved into the stone of history. But now, the chisel is in your hand, and you've started carving something new, something real, something unfiltered, unbribed, unafraid. Their monuments are toppling, not because of mobs, but because of memory. Memory is louder than media. Truth is heavier than spin. And the longer you stand, the more the people remember. The more they question. The more they reject. You didn't come this far for a truce. You came to end the cycle. No more begging. No more explanations. No more compromise with a system that was born from deceit and kept alive by fear. They can't kill what they no longer understand. And you? You've become unrecognizable to them, not because you've changed, but because you've returned to what you were always meant to be. Unapologetically whole. You are not broken. You are rebuilt. And now, the final collapse begins. Quiet, sudden, permanent. The headlines can't spin fast enough. The analysts can't rationalize what's coming. Because what's coming doesn't follow their rules. It doesn't wear a tie or wait its turn. It's raw. It's earned. And it's done waiting. Their servers glitch. Their alliances fray. Their influence dissolves like sugar in rain. And in its place stands something unshakable. You. Not just a survivor, but a symbol. Not just a challenger, but a consequence. They can't rebuild because they never built anything real. Just towers of image, scaffolds of ego, frameworks of fear. And all of it collapses with a whisper when truth walks in. That whisper was your voice. That shift in the air, that was your presence. That quake beneath their feet. That was the weight of every suppressed truth, now marching, now rising, now refusing to kneel. And as they watch their legacy decay, remember this: they had every chance, every opportunity to choose the right side of history. But they chose comfort, they chose power, they chose denial. And now, history won't remember them as leaders. It will remember them as warnings. You don't need revenge. You already won. You're not the storm. You're the climate. They'll never recover. So let them run. Let them point fingers. Let them beg their gods for another rewrite. It's too late. The curtain has fallen. The script is burned. The actors are fleeing. And the stage now belongs to truth. Your breakthrough isn't a finale. It's the beginning of something unfiltered, something incorruptible, something that doesn't ask for approval, because it commands respect. You didn't just survive their system, you outlived it. And now you rise, unbothered, unbound, and undeniable.